Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Podcast. It's the last day of June, Thursday, June 30th. And as always, on Thursdays, I'm joined by Mr. Doug Upstone. And as always, we have free picks for you the following day, which would be Friday, July the 1st. But without further ado, Mr. Upstone, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing very well, Ross. But here's something that's crazy to me, and I actually saw it happen. This is baseball. Saw it happen, and I was fascinated to know that this is a thing now, because I did not know it was in baseball. Not betting, okay, but it's going on in the game. So here it is. It says what I had action on Kansas City and Texas on Monday. So I'm watching the game, and then I end up doing some other things. But Kansas City, if you saw the game, if you're from Kansas City, you happen to see the game, they should have had at least 4 errors, if not 5. Okay. They ended up with 2. But what the Texas announcers were talking about, saying that this is a thing now, is that, for example, if a player has a ball and he doesn't touch it, even though he completely misplays it,
Yeah.
they give him a hit.
Yeah.
Not an error.
Yeah.
And it was like, I mean, and one of them, I mean, the guy just backed up on the ball. I mean, it was basically like a foot to his right. He backs up on the ball and he just flat puts his glove out. He misses it. I mean, and they gave him a hit because and it's like, I did not know that was going on in baseball. I mean, I know a lot about other things. I just thought that was bizarre as could be, that they don't want to give errors out, even though there are errors. I was blown away by that.
Yeah.
I know not everybody's going to be, but I was.
It's always a debatable topic, right, Doug? I mean, how many times have we watched Major League Baseball games and, I don't know, errors awarded and we don't think it's deserved, or vice versa, like you're just mentioning? If you use if you use the analogy that if you hit a sky high pop up in the infield, and we've seen this happen on numerous occasions. All of a sudden, one guy calls it for it, the other guy thinks he backs off, and then the next thing you know, they're both undecided, and the ball drops.
Right,
it's a hit. It's not an error. Only
and
because
with that one but I think the bigger point of this is, and this is a change in baseball over the last, I don't know, at least a decade or more, is that it used to be the official score was he was the king.
Yeah.
Okay. Whatever he said. Well, then, however many years ago, it started, and it goes on before then, but players didn't complain. They just accepted. They maybe didn't like the result. They thought they should get a hit. Well, now players, or through their people, they regularly contact the scorekeepers, and they complain either about, that was a bad call, I should have got a hit, I shouldn't have got an error. So it's all of those types of things. So their influence has impacted the official score to that point. And so, as opposed to players having, and now with these metrics, like with fielding in particular, to where guys range, how many balls they get to, it's like they're trying to protect the players that way, as opposed to the, what they're actually and how they're performing out there. So I don't, like I said, I just found it interesting.
No, it's a valid point, because it's, us as humans see it. These guys are getting paid multi-millions of dollars. They misplayed a ball just because they don't touch it. We think it should be an error because it was a playable ball and you're a major leaguer. I mean, that's just stands to reason. But unfortunately, in recent years, going to your topic on the official scorers getting calls from the dugout or after the game, or in person being questioned by players. Unfortunately, a lot of it is contract oriented, because a guy wants to get a hit. If it's ruled an error, he wants a hit, and he may have some kind of stipulation in his contract if he hits a certain amount for an average, that he's going to get extra money. And the other side of the coin is, if a error is ruled and a player feels it unjustified, is that might be part of his contract, especially a guy who's signed for good money more for his defense than his offense, So,
right.
Yeah, I think personally, now that you bring this up, and I'm glad you did, it should be Major League Baseball rules with an iron fist, yet they allow this. So my personal suggestion would be, and curious to hear your thoughts, is, you're going to get fined if you contact or try to sway an official scores from their original ruling.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. There are maybe some circumstances, with that, but I don't disagree with you. Well, and then of course, though, there's the other side of the coin. Why, if that runner would happen to score, okay, that counts as an earned run against the pitcher.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
because it was a hit.
Yeah.
And even though it should have been an out. So you've taken from 3 outs, you have 4 outs that you have to get in an inning because of what a player did. So,
right.
I mean, there's a lot of dynamics and there's no, seemingly no right or wrong answers, to this, but it just goes along with all the little details of the game. You and I have talked about this before. Sure. I don't know if we've talked about it here, but like the radar guns. I mean, the radar guns are roughly 1 to 2 miles per hour faster.
We did talk about that. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, so there's all these other little things that come about, that are out there. And I guess just I guess I'm too much of a law and order guy.
Yeah.
I guess
you're a traditionalist, so
yeah. I mean, error's an error. It's just, none of that stuff should come into play.
The other thing too, Doug, and you're a big NHL fan like I am, you'll see penalties called in the first and second period. Let's be specific, in a playoff game where there's a lot on the line, and the same penalties called in the first and second period are not called in the third, especially late in the third, where the referees decide to put the whistle away and it has to be something obvious. Well, the same thing, in my opinion, happens when a pitcher is throwing a no-hitter, and you can't help but think the human element comes into play on somebody's rulings, whether that was a hit or an error late in the game when a pitcher's throwing a no-hitter. Now, most times than not, it's usually a clean hit that breaks up a no-hitter. But as we both know, even though they're isolated situations, they're well publicized when there's a play that could be ruled either way. And you see more times than not a official scorer siding with the pitcher and giving him the benefit of the doubt and trying to keep the no-hitter alive. So, yeah, those are interesting topics, and also topics that, if you stop and think about it, especially the one I just mentioned, could not only decide whether it's a no-hitter or not, but could ultimately decide. No, I guess it wouldn't decide the game itself. But in any event, it's something that's not talked about a lot, and some of it doesn't apply to sports betting. But as a baseball traditionalist, like we both are, it's certainly worth the topic of conversation. Doug, we're coming upon the All-Star break in a couple of weeks, and I've had a lot of people reach out to me on various shows I'm on. Matter of fact, I was just on one on picksandparleys.net, and somebody questioned me on it and said, my personal feeling as I start to not make as many plays as the All-Star break approaches, because I just feel like those are the times of year where we're susceptible as sports bettors. And he's got a valid point, because who knows what their state of mind is. Some of these teams, some can't wait to get to the All-Star break, especially if they're losing, especially if they're on a losing team. Get away from it all, get away from all the scrutiny and pressure for a few days. And then there's others that don't want an All-Star break because they may have won 10 of their last 11. And it's a lot of it too, I guess, goes hand in hand with a mental state of mind, which we're not psychologists, but I don't really put a lot of emphasis on that particular topic one way or the other. I was just curious to hear if you had a different opinion in that regard.
Yeah, I really don't. I mean,
Yeah.
going into the All-Star game, I don't see much at all. I mean, I guess on a Sunday, the last day, if a team's been on a long road trip, and they're having a poor season, they're having a poor road trip, could they mail it in? Yeah, you can certainly make that justification, for that. But in terms of, let's just say, leading up to it, not so much. I mean, for me, I'm more interested to look at the changes, what happens after the All-Star break, from basically, whatever point in July through the end of August, when the lines typically go higher, the
Yeah.
separation has been determined, who the teams are, who the good teams are, who the bad teams are. So you basically have, in many cases, fewer choices, to
Yeah.
look at, for a variety of reasons. We discussed some of those last week, but I'm just saying, in a more general sense, that seems to be the case. So I know I almost always, in that window, have fewer plays than I do in the so-called first part of the season.
And that's why what we discussed also is this is an inordinate amount of games in which we are seeing a lot of big favorites this early in the year, being the first half. In my memory anyway, and I think you agreed with me on that. So I think that's well ahead of the curve this year as to what you're specifying. But by the same token, it only figures to get worse instead of better in late August and early September, which thank God for football at that time, because that's when we really pick our spots with baseball picks. A lot to choose from at that time with college football and the NFL. And then we gear back up for the Major League Baseball playoffs, where it's a more competitive situation on a daily basis. So, yeah, all good points, Doug. Doug, we have free picks for everybody here in Major League Baseball for Friday, July the 1st. It's hard to imagine it's July 1st already. Anyway.
It's incredible.
Yes. What do you got for us? I understand you like something in the Padres and Dodgers game, two of the top teams in the NL West.
I certainly do. And we're talking that to me, it's the most fascinating series for sure of the weekend. It's a 4-game series, so there's actually a game starting off on Thursday, but we're talking about game 2 in this one. And in this case, now this, as we take this, and this is one of my deals, Ross. I don't think I've ever told you about this, so I'm going to bring it up though now, because I do this. I have done this for years. So the Dodgers hold a 3-game lead, but they hold it in the loss column over the San Diego Padres. Because, why do I say that? Because if you look at the standings right now, it says the Dodgers are ahead by a game and a half. But I look at the losses, because you know what? Everybody's going to play 162 games.
Correct.
And once you lose a game, you can't make it back.
Yeah.
So I'm sticking with it. So I got the Dodgers with a 3-game lead, okay, in this one, and they're going to face Blake Snell. Blake Snell is the expected starter, and he is a shell of himself, of what he used to be. He was with Tampa Bay. I mean, he literally almost won and could have won the World Series, except for his manager taking him out, okay, in the 6th inning of Game 7. His fastball has lost its movement. He has less control of the strike zone, with 19 walks in just over 35 innings. And that exactly explains his ERA of 5.60 and his whip of 1.44. Now, LA skipper Dave Roberts, he's going to use Tony Gonsolin. And, we've talked about him.
Love Gonsolin.
What's that?
I love Gonsolin.
Oh yeah, and we talked about him early though, and I brought up the point that he was a known nibbler, okay, around the plate, but now you know what? He's attacking batters, okay, coming after him. He's 9-0. The Dodgers, I think, have won 11 of his 14 starts. He's got an ERA of 1.58, and I found this. The on-base percentage against it, now not batting average, okay, the on-base percentage against Gonsolin, 157.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's just crazy to me. So now Snell has pitched well in his career against the Dodgers. He has a 2.02 ERA, but this year he and the Friars are 0-7 when he's pitched. And when the total is between 7 and 8.5, which it is here at 7.5, the Padres and Snell are 3-10 on the road in those games. I got the Dodgers, a little bit bigger number. Okay. Hopefully I might come down, I think, but I'm not 100% sure. But right now I got it at -150. I like the Dodgers to take game 2 and knock Snell around. What would it be? Knock the snot out of Snell? How does that sound? and take and go with them against the San Diego Padres. And hey, like the Dodgers there.
Yeah. Snell is, you're right. I mean, ever since he left Tampa Bay and then signed a lucrative contract, with San Diego, he's not been a shell of himself, as you touched upon and used those words. Everybody keeps thinking, well, it's the first time, it's first year with San Diego. He needs to get acclimated. Well, it's now going on 2 years, and we're seeing that consistent poor performance line from Snell and Tony Gonsolin. I think the Dodgers are like 11 or 12-1 this year when he's their starting pitcher. Something pretty good. Let's put it that way.
11-3. Yep.
11-3. Okay.
Yes.
11-3. And he's 9-0 in decisions, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct. That's correct.
So, but both of us, we put more emphasis, even though this is unrelated, but we put more emphasis, on team win-loss records rather than decision marks, which to me are misleading at times. Doug, you had another topic before I get to my free pick. You had an interesting thing about looking ahead in the schedule.
Yeah, well, in terms of, handicapping, I think it's always a good decision, or at least a wise decision, to, we look at teams and you look at their performance and then what they have upcoming. I'm not saying that you just, unilaterally make a hard, firm decision on something, but, just consider it. Have an idea of what a team's got coming up. So, for example, like the Houston Astros have one of the best records in the major leagues this season. All right. So starting on July 4th, so on Monday, they got 4 home games against Kansas City and 3 games at Oakland. They're going well, and that seems like a prime opportunity to go at least 5-2 at the very least, if not 6-1 against 2 lousy American League teams. The Chicago Cubs, they're having a terrible season. And in fact, there's talk of like Ian Happ is the one in particular, and there's one other person that is being thrown around that they might move him, before the draft. Before the trade deadline for draft picks. In this case, the Cubs are going to play 3 games next week, starting at Milwaukee, first place Milwaukee Brewers, and then they're going to play 4 times at Dodger Stadium.
Yeah,
they're only 15-20, which is actually pretty good compared to their home record.
Yeah, exactly.
But still, 15-20 is nothing to brag about, and going against that type of competition, I think the Cubs would be lucky to win twice. So those are just, just as something to consider to do. Won't take you a lot of time. Just look at it and just kind of put it into your head that, maybe there's some opportunity for certain teams in the right situations to be able to, take advantage of. And you, as the person making the bets, that's to your advantage as well.
Yeah. The right situation are the key words there. Again, neither one of us will ever persuade you to take a pick as a no-brainer just because of this. It's maybe a identifier or a starting point, and then you need to do a little more research because, like Doug said, who was it? You said 5-2 or 6-1. They should go. Houston. Okay. Again, we may want to look at the pitching matchups too, and all the other factors. And instead of 5-2 or 6-1. If you catch Houston in the right situations at a favorable price, even if you have to go to the run line, you may get out of that 7-game stretch going 4-0 because you chose the right situation. So again, good point, Doug. And again, we encourage you, do not no-brain your way through things because as soon as you think it's that easy, listen, there's no baseball trend that's 464-0 right now, for example. I'm being hypothetical. So just keep that in mind. Most times and not over the long haul, trends will sort of even off. It depends. And even if they're real good, you want to catch it in a good situation. So good point, Doug. All right, I'm going to look at the Atlanta and Cincinnati game. Cincinnati, we talked about who smell, but Cincinnati is just horrible. Doug has mentioned that on more than one occasion. So I am going to agree with my buddy on this. Cincinnati is a terrible team. All you have to do is look at the records, folks. That's not a stroke of genius on my part. 6:40 p.m. Eastern time. Game will be played in Cincinnati. Right now, Atlanta, a -190 money line favorite. I'm not going to lay that kind of juice. So here's where I'm going with this. Max Fried is a slated starter for the Atlanta Braves. 6-0 in his last 6 team starts with a 2.05 ERA and a 1.04 WHIP, while averaging 6.6 innings pitched per start. Again, I always like to look at average innings pitched per start when somebody's on a nice run like that, and then look at their bullpen, because sometimes bullpens might be struggling of late, but their starting pitchers that can eat up a lot of innings covers that weakness aside, which isn't the case here in this game, by the way. As a matter of fact, Fried, 6 innings pitched or more in 12 of his last 13 starts, and 11 of those 13 starts were of the quality variety, where he gave up 3 earned runs or less while pitching 6 or more innings on each occasion. The Atlanta bullpen, like I just alluded to, doesn't fit the description of what I was going for when I said the average pitch or innings per start for a starting pitcher. Their ERA 2.05 over the last 7, their WHIP 1.05 over the last 7, and they're going to be facing Mike Minor of the Cincinnati Reds. That's Atlanta is facing Mike Minor of the Cincinnati Reds. His last 5, a 7.71 ERA and a 1.60 WHIP. And the Cincinnati bullpen, okay, I mean, Minor's not getting it done. Well, neither is their bullpen, Doug. Over their last 7, 8.02 ERA, 1.64 WHIP, 6 home runs allowed in 21 and a third innings pitched. And the Atlanta Braves, by the way, they lead the National League in home runs hit. And Atlanta, 19-8 versus lefties, which Mike Minor is a lefty. And Cincinnati, 7-15 this year versus lefties, which Max Fried is a lefty. So all fits well. And I'm going to lay Atlanta -1.5 on the run line at money line odds of -135, which, for a -190, Doug, -135 on the run line doesn't seem like it equates, which makes me like to pick even more. I just can't see a run line going any higher than this right now, since the opening line was -190. So we're going to go with the Atlanta Braves here, -1.5 at money line odds of -135 over the hapless Cincinnati Reds. Doug, tell the folks how they could find you and what you got going on at Doc Sports this week, and how you've been doing of late.
The one thing I was going to say, with that Cincinnati, with Minor and that bullpen, I think the fire truck ought to be outside for that one, because that there could be there'll be major, not minor damage, I think, in that one. And yeah. I think I agree with you on that. Baseball's been good the last 9 days, 62%. Okay, in terms of winning, I've hit a couple of big plays, so looking to continue that. I actually have one on Thursday, big plays, the night game. So if you'd like, you can check that out at the Doug Upstone page at Doc Sports. So that continues to go well, and I'm hoping just to keep this rolling right into the All-Star break that Ross had mentioned. And then also because we don't have a lot of other things going on. I'm not a WNBA guy or anything like that, but I am a Canadian Football League guy, and I hit both my plays last week, and it looks like I'm going to have one this week. So check that out. 13-7 since last year, almost $2,000 worth of profit. So dial it up, Canadian football, baby. Get those 3 downs, throw the ball, and let's score some points.
And get a lot of rouges. Which, if you don't know what we're referring to, I'll let Doug explain what a rouge is.
It's the color red. Okay. From that standpoint, which the not the football team, but the Canadians, the Montreal Canadiens. Okay, that's part of their team colors. Rouge and blue, spelled, what is it? BL. I think it's BLU, and I think there's a couple other vowels in there that they use. So yeah, it's a completely different thing. So, but anyways, yeah, Canadians got their own things going on, and some cases, they're doing things a few better than what's going on in this country. So hey, good for them. And their football is actually entertaining. And you can bet it and watch it if you have the ESPN Plus app, because almost all their games are on there then too.
So a rouge is what I was referring to, is actually, besides what Doug just educated us on,
Yeah.
is a 1-point play, which,
Oh, that's right. I forgot
yeah,
about
it's,
that. Yeah, you're right.
if you punt the ball into the end zone and the player does not run it out of the end zone for fear he's going to be either trapped in the end zone for a 2-point safety, or he's going to give the other team very good field position if they don't get a couple first downs on their offensive possession. You can just down the ball and just give the other team 1 point. Same thing applies on a field goal attempt, huh?
You don't do Canadian football though, right?
No, but
Okay,
I know the rules.
But you know the rules. How's that?
Because I'm a sports junkie.
Oh, okay, all right.
And you know something about that, don't you?
Yes, I do. But that's I forgot all about that, to tell you the truth, or that the term. So
yeah,
but yeah,
a rouge.
Yes. Okay.
Remember that, Doug? Because you're going to get asked that again somewhere along the line.
Let me write it down here. I got my pen. And
I love Doug Upstone. He's my man. All right. And for myself, you can find me at rbwins.com. That's rbwins.com. We're currently taping on Thursday, June 30th, and it's about 3 in the afternoon. And I'm going to get this video edited and published within the next 20 minutes. So if you happen to catch it early, I have a 10-star top play money line winner in the Yankees and Astros game tonight. That goes at 6:10 p.m. Eastern time. My Major League Baseball money line 10-star top plays, documented by Sports Capping since May 11th of 2018, 53-24, folks, 69%. As you can see, I don't give out a ton of those. That's almost a 4-year, actually more than a 4-year time span. So you want to keep an eye on those anyway going forward. If you miss the Houston and Yankees game, the opportunity to cash in there. Major League Baseball 10-star top play money line plays again since May 11th of 2018, 53-24, 69%. Major League Baseball 10-star top plays since last year, 48-26, which is good for 64%. Again, I don't give those out every day, very selective, only give out 11 this year, 7-4, but you want to keep an eye on those. My Major League Baseball totals 12-8, the last 20 Major League Baseball run line plays, which we all seem to be using a lot more these days with these heavy favorites all over the map. And 9-4 with my last 13 Major League Baseball run line top plays. rbwins.com guarantees single game, multi-game packages daily. If you don't make a profit, I will match whatever your purchase price is and credit your account, and you can use that money for any future purchases, whichever way you like. And also, if you have not registered at my site, you'll get a $100 signing bonus upon you doing so. Go to the website, rbwins.com. In the top left-hand corner, you'll see a register icon. Just hit that, and it takes all of 30 seconds to fill the form out, and use your right email address, folks, because if you try to use a fake email, the system will shut you down, because you need to confirm your email as being a real one, and that's how you're going to receive your picks. So use the right email. Anyway, Doug, always a pleasure, my friend. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. And to all of you out there, from Doug Upstone and Ross Benjamin, we would like to wish each and every one of you have a safe, fun weekend, make a lot of money, and good luck with all your picks.